Well, welcome back. It's always a joy to have one of our own back in the studio, and that is the case today. We have Paul Coughlin back with us. Paul heads up the Protectors, and now he's considered a national, if not international, expert on the subject of bullying. And we have watched this topic go from basically in the closet to being front page news, and Paul's right on the cutting edge of that. In fact, he's now considered a Fox News contributor, but he's a Dove News has-been.
Oh.
How you doing, buddy? Good to see you.
Doing good, doing good. Great to be here, pal.
Well,
Thanks.
Congratulations. I know this is a passion of yours, and God has taken you and this topic, and you're all over the world now.
You know, Perry, God will use anyone, apparently.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, we started out as only a faith-based organization. We only worked with faith-based entities.
Right.
And then within 3 months, we had more requests to speak in public schools than private Christian schools.
Wow.
So then we just formed this unique track starting about 7 years ago. And yeah, obviously used a lot in North America, but other parts of the world as well. And we've got a cry from Africa.
I was going to say, what's the deal with Africa? Why do they want you?
Well, I ran into a director of Ebenezer African Hearts Ministry in Plano, Texas. I was doing a teacher training in Plano, Texas. And this gentleman attended one of the trainings and said that my nation, well, he said my country needs this, and then he said our nation needs it. Perry, you can only imagine how horrible bullying is in parts of Africa.
Right.
With you know, high orphan rate becomes survival of the fittest type of thing, a Lord of the Flies type of mentality that some people just take horrible advantage of other people. There's not, authorities not there to stop them. And so according to numerous sources really in Africa, bullying is just widespread epidemic, and in fact we have videos on our website of kids just pleading for the Protectors to come to their country.
Well, this is an incredible thing. Bullying being what it is, we've watched some big cases in the news lately. In fact, you're going to comment on one of those. For those who don't know, what is bullying? What's the essence of bullying?
Yeah, that's a great question, because so much gets thrown into the bullying pot that after a while there's no clarity, and when there's no clarity, there's no solution.
Well, I was going to ask you later on, has bullying become like ADHD in school? Just because little Johnny won't sit in the seat and be still, we give him a pill and dumb him down and say, you know, now be quiet.
I think when it comes to teachers, no. Teachers know in most cases, most of the time. It's the parents who often don't understand what bullying is, right? Any emotional, psychological owie, we now are considering bullying, which is so dangerous in so many ways. The main thing being that, as C.S. Lewis put it, he says, you know, it's the goal of the enemy to make us think it's the front of the boat that's on fire, all the while it's the stern, right? So here we are rushing into areas and we're calling it bullying, but it's really not. And all the while, the kids who are truly suffering, the ones who really need the help, they're not getting the help. So bullying is really the use of superior power with the intention to harm another person over a period of time and for no good reason. You would be surprised how many definitions of bullying there are. That's kind of a blue collar to the core definition. It usually involves humiliation, isolation, and threat of further abuse. And it also usually includes a component of audacity on behalf of the bully. We love that audacity part because you need to use the audacity of the bully against them. They often think they're the sharpest person in the room, and as a result, let them think that. Be a few steps ahead of them, set them up, very much like police do in regard to crime, and then that way you can catch them in the act. It's very important you have to catch them in the act, and then hopefully you can help reform them. So superior power, intention to harm, over a period of time, multiple times, and for no good reason. It is victimization without provocation.
All right. I want to ask you this question early on, because if not, we'll get busy and I want to ask you.
Okay.
But there are several popular shows on television that appear to me to be borderline bullying. Okay? You're laughing about that.
I have,
But there's a show that I like. It's called Pawn Stars.
Oh, okay. I've seen it.
It's the shop down in
the big boys.
Yeah.
They're big boys. The main guy's kind of a big guy.
They're fairly big guys, and they're down. They run this pawn shop in Las Vegas and everything else. But the inside family is certainly bullying this other guy who's not a family member, but he is an employee, kind of a close, I don't know if he's related, shirt tail related.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh, wait a minute, it's fun, you learn a lot watching the show, but wait a minute, I'm going, hey, wait a minute, this is first class, live on television bullying. Am I wrong?
Well, I've seen the show, and I can't remember of the...
They're always making fun of the fat little guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, then that would certainly be a case of bullying. You have the difference between teasing and taunting, and you are getting into that interesting area where there are links in a chain. Teasing is usually good-natured, where both people laugh. This is what I tell parents who their kids.
Well, I've seen this kid hurt. I've seen him walk away hurt, and I realize this is scripted for television.
Yeah.
But they're getting away with it.
Well, most bullies do, and particularly if you've got like a 4 or 5 against 1, it's going to be very little that this guy can do in order to change the situation. My guess is the main guy, who seems to be like a fairly decent person, my guess would be if you could explain to that guy that this is really what's happening, he'd probably do something about it.
I would hope that would be the case. I would hope the producers. All right, now we've seen some cases now where it results in suicide.
Yeah.
And we're thinking, wait a minute, how can that happen? How can somebody lose focus of their life so much that they end it?
Yeah, well, I think until you walk in their shoes, we may think that, but boy, once you speak to them as I have, and you get to speak to the surviving parents as we have, you can see that it's not a logical conclusion, but it's an understandable conclusion. Probably due to 2 things, Perry, real quickly. Bullying is probably worse than it was when we were in school. Cyberbullying didn't even exist for me and for you and many people watching right now. It fatigues. Fatigue is one of the biggest problems that comes with serial targets.
You just get wore out from it.
They get wore out. And when we went to school, Perry, and our parents be like Humpty Dumpty, we come home, they patch us back together, send us out the next day. Literally, kids today can't get away from it due to social media. And we say, well, just take the social media away. That's like taking a limb away from a kid, unfortunately. It doesn't make it stop, unfortunately. So you probably have certainly more bullying than we had before. But then also, too, we probably have a higher degree of fragility on behalf of the psychology of children today relative to, again, when you and I were growing up. It was unusual to have divorced parents when I grew up. It was weird. And today, it's pretty common. And, single parents doing the best they can, obviously, but it's an amazingly difficult job. With 2 people, it's an amazingly difficult job. So we have this increased probably fragility rather, on behalf of targets. And so
let me ask you this, Paul. A parent who may suspect their child is being bullied, what are some of the signs that parents can start to look for if they feel their kid is starting to auger in?
Oh, and to be a target, they loved school before, now they hate it. They're quiet before when they were talkative, or usually outbursts of anger and rage and frustration at times that you didn't see it before. Siblings usually don't get along all the time, but I'm talking about really not getting along over a period of time. Decrease in grades, symptoms of depression, either too much sleeping, too little sleeping, too much eating, too little eating, general listlessness in life, unexplained marks on their body. Also, stolen items that you can't get a clear answer. What happened to this? Oh, I don't know. I lost it. But your kid didn't really lose things before.
All right. So what should parents do?
Parents, they need to do a number of things. The number one thing we can do to decrease bullying is expect our child to do something when they see it happen. We always expect other kids to do something. As long as we think that's the case, it's never really going to change. We must, and the reason why is that bystanders have the most power. If they're the ones who say something, stop, leave that person alone, this is wrong. If they don't have the guts to do that, I understand. They can just comfort the target afterward and report, not tattle, to authority what they saw and what they heard. Tattling is about something insignificant designed to get someone into trouble. Reporting is about something important designed to get someone out of trouble. It's really important that our children, not someone else's child, does that. And we would love to see Christian kids being the tip of the spear against that. This is really a battle for human dignity. It is one of the most unrecognized mission fields in America, in fact throughout the world today. Imagine if Christian kids were known as the ones who stood up for the underdog, who stood up for that kid who was marginalized. Frankly, imagine if Christian kids were known to do what Jesus told us to do throughout the New Testament. Imagine if that were the case.
Wow.
You know, right now, faith community is worried that they're not being invited into the public school systems and all that.
Right.
If Christian kids began to be known as the kids who stood up against bullying, you'd be welcomed with open arms.
All right. Now, Protectors is looking at this at two fronts. One is you're helping the individual and the group involved in maybe a single act of bullying. At the same time, you're getting this message out to the masses.
Yeah.
And it would seem to me that if a public school does an open assembly or whatever about the subject of bullying, you just put every kid out there on warning that this subject's now front burner. Is that right? Yeah.
And what's interesting, Perry, you say that, is that a bully, when they know that we're coming, will begin to undercut us before we get there. They can sense their power being threatened, and they'll say things like, well, we don't need this in our school. There isn't bullying going on in our school. And they're the bullies. They sense something inside that someone's messing with the power structure. So
is that the motivation behind a bullier? Is that the right word?
Well, yeah, sure. Behind a bullier is good. The motivation behind a bully, there's a number of motivations. We know a few things for sure. They enjoy it. Perry, it is pleasurable to dominate and control another person.
Wow.
It's pleasurable. I did it in high school. I did it with words. I did it through sarcasm. I know you're not surprised with that. We co-host some shows. You're like, well, really, Paul?
Yeah. I used to get his hate mail.
No, you did, Perry. Oh boy, I would take some things back. I would. And I think I'll write you a letter before. If I ever hear you're about to die, I'll write you a letter and apologize.
Okay.
Yeah, it's enjoyable. It's enjoyable. They love it. And they would do more of it if authority would let them do it. You know, sexual predators are not the only one who enjoy dominating another person. Bullies enjoy it. It's about power, it's about control, but there's a lot of pleasure associated with bullying another person.
All right, let me take a quick break. We'll be right back. Paul Coughlin's with us, and he's the founder of the Protectors. How do people get a hold of you, Paul?
theprotectors.org on our website. You can email me directly. We've got a wonderful new person on staff, Jessica, just so smart, so capable. Contact Jessica as well with any questions.
All right, theprotectors.org. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back, and Paul Coughlin's with us. He heads up the Protectors, which works with not only faith-based organizations, but now incredible demand across the country and around the world to come into public schools as well. He is a Fox News contributor, and he's very passionate about the subject of bullying, and it has gotten huge press lately. And now you're being called to go to Africa. Now, you would say in Africa, bullying in Africa, you may have to maybe further explain that, but what an opportunity. This country is basically begging you to come down, and I don't know where it begins and ends, but would you go to Central Africa, then to Eastern Africa, and then down to South Africa?
Well, yeah, the goal at this point is to go through Tanzania, to start off in Tanzania, work our way through Central Africa, and then there's interest in East Africa as well. You know how this goes, that if you get the green light for the trip, build it and they will come type of thing. So there's such a huge need. We know that we have 3 anchor countries, but there's others that will probably join in. And then, it is possible. We've been asked to come to South Africa for, at least the last 5 years, similar with
Now, people want to partner with you on this. How do they do that?
And that's what we need, Perry. We've got the program. We just want to cover the cost of going there, and it's substantial, as you know, going to other countries. If people want to support, if they got a heart for Africa, and many people do, there's a certain romanticism with Africa, particularly within the American church, which is beautiful to see, and they certainly need our help. They can just go to theprotectors.org. There's a donate button just on our Africa page right then and there. If they have any questions, they can email me, just paul@theprotectors.org. We are also playing around with the idea of actually bringing at least 10 people to Africa with us. There are people who will be called the Protectors, point people throughout the United States. They want to take this message to their own community, and it's also possible that they may want to also join us in Africa to see what we're doing in Africa, essentially create Protectors disciples to some degree, and then they can bring the message back to their countries and their communities.
What would be the cultural differences of bullying in Africa versus bullying in a public school in America?
You know, I don't know if there would be much difference. It's Perry, there's just some people who like to mess around with other people for no good reason. And I think that particularly sometimes within the church, we're ill-prepared to deal with such people, because we think that we've been led to believe in many cases that if I can just reach you, if I can just understand where you're coming from, that I can help put an end to this bullying. The number one complaint we get, Perry, particularly among Christian kids, is I didn't do anything to this person, so why are they coming after me? Mm-hmm. We think that the only reason why people will come after us is because of conflict or misunderstanding or miscommunication. That isn't what bullying is about. In many cases, many times, the target did nothing. They did nothing, but that's because it's not about conflict.
So what is it, emotional survival or
it's just some people need to feel superior to others in most cases, most of the time. Your average bully does not have low self-esteem. Your average bully has average to excessive self-esteem. And they've done this over and over with tests. Kids identified as bullies, they'll ask them to self-identify their capacities, their acumen.
Really?
Verbal acumen, mathematical reading, you know, in regard to school. How smart are you as a student? They almost always come up higher in a self-test than they do in actual testing.
Really?
They often think they're just smart and wonderful, and they don't understand why other people don't like them more. And you know, so in regard to how cruelty is currency in youth culture. And Christian culture as well. We have numerous letters from kids, parents who are leaving church because their child's being bullied in Sunday school, and the poor Sunday school teacher can't even recognize bullying, let alone, you know, intervene effectively. So there's just some kids who love to attack other people. They'll do more of it, and they do it as adults. Perry, a serial bully, you know, identified in school. They wanted to find out what kind of person they became, adult they became. 5 to 6 times more likely to commit a felony by their middle 20s, 4 to 5 times more likely to abuse their future spouse and future children.
Wow.
So when you think of a bully in the workplace, chances are they were also a bully on the playground.
Wow. What about corporate bullying?
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, corporate bullying tends to be designed more for a utilitarian value. Though cruelty is currency in youth culture, most people grow up after a while and they realize, man, this doesn't work. This is not right. In regard to the bully in the workplace, they probably enjoy it as well, and they probably get off on it. But more so, they extract its financial utility. And its financial utility, if you can just intimidate and dominate other people, you will likely be the one who will get the promotion or keep other people from outing you from your horrible behavior because you're going to, you know, threaten to do something with them. Bullies are really good with real and perceived power. They may not have the power to do what they say, and I'll tell you this, I've been coaching for 20-something years, and I've run into a few parents who are bullies. They will have you believe anything if you'll believe them, or about their power to come after you if you don't play their kid or something like that. And they're, by and large, you know, their bark is worse than their bite type of thing, but you don't know that until you confront them.
Can a bully be redeemed?
Oh yeah, yeah. Some of them, you know, they're akin to sociopaths, but yeah, they can be redeemed. You have different kinds, but for our purposes in our time, you've got serial bullies and you have these acute bullies. I was an acute bully for a little bit in high school. I played around with the magic. It's such power that you can have over another person. I played around with it, but then something got the better of me. My conscience said, you know, Paul, this is wrong what you're doing to other people. And so I actually apologized to some of the people that I had done it to, the ones I could apologize to. So these are the people that when the light of truth is shown on them, they adjust to the light of truth. That's an acute bully. They apologize usually. But a chronic bully, when you say, you know, you're doing these things, they adjust the truth. These are the ones who will tell you black is white. These are the ones that will redefine right and wrong, and they will tear apart a church, that is for sure. The 3 areas of vocations where bullying can be the worst will be ministry, teaching, and nursing. Because all 3 attract a more nurturing personality, and Perry, the nurturing personality does not know how to handle a bully. It just thinks, it's the nice doctrine. If I'm nice to you, you're obliged to be nice to me. Bullies do not follow the nice doctrine. They just don't.
Well, I've seen it in ministry, and you kind of go, how can this exist?
Yeah.
Then you look at the person who's doing it, and they actually believe what they're doing is godly, and you're kind of going, all right, all of a sudden you reach an impasse. You can't get through to them. I don't know what you do with that.
Well, again, the light of truth is you talk about godly behavior, right? You show, well, this is what, you have an idea of godly behavior. Let's show what the Bible says about godly behavior, and then you compare it to that. But what they'll do is they'll just say, there just comes a point you have to part ways, and they're very difficult to reach. I will say this, that in order to reach a serial bully, people change by inspiration or desperation, right? And in most cases, most of the time, it's desperation. A serial bully needs the gift of desperation in their life sooner than later.
Well, I'm glad you put it that way, the gift of desperation.
Yeah.
Well, it is. I mean, there's only two things that will change anybody. It's those two things.
Yeah, most of us don't change in the sanctuary. We change in the storm. It's just we're hard-headed, and we're kind of ugly in many ways.
Yeah.
But we're redeemable.
All right. What few minutes we got left, I want to come back to Africa just for a moment. Do you want people to maybe partner up with you? I mean, I realize you need some financial support, but what about those who maybe want to go and be a part of this? What do they do?
We've met recently with a group that does these interesting missions to other countries. It's kind of like expeditions. And they specialize in this kind of travel and putting these trips together. And we are thinking about, again, seeing if there might be about 10 people interested in creating this protectors group, bringing us over. There's actually some really group dynamic things that are done while being part of this organization. It's founded here in Medford. And yeah, obviously the support from individuals to help us get over there is very, very important. I mean, like a lot of small organizations, small ministries, we have a budget, but we don't have a budget for Africa type of thing. And but then again, Perry, there's just certain people that Africa is, that God has put it on their hearts that this is a part of the world right now at this time that they feel greatly compelled to step forward and work with, and our friends who have been over there, and very much like your friends.
Some of the most horrific persecution, Christian persecution going on right now are in Africa.
That's right.
So it's a kind of a mixed bag. It's an incredible opportunity. In some ways, places there's a revival. Some places there's Christian persecution. It certainly is a open land for getting the gospel out. But I never thought of this, and I thought, well, how much sense this really makes. I mean, I would assume they want you in the schools and maybe even in some of the government areas.
I was just going to say that what's very interesting about this group that we're connected with, Ebenezer African Hearts Organization, is unlike in America, these ministries have a strong connection to big parts of the government. The same is true in Brazil. That we're also possibly will be going down there as well. But yeah, they have this connection with the government, which is profound. And what a great way to show a genuine Christian love for your fellow man. Jesus talked about the sheep and the goats, and he said, if you didn't help them, you didn't help me. It's one of those separating aspects within the kingdom of heaven, where if you see someone in need, you see the oppressed, you see the broken, and you see the orphan, and you don't do anything about it, he cuts you away.
All right, it's protectors.org, theprotectors.org, if you want to get involved in helping Paul with the African outreach, maybe with finances or get involved. Again, go to theprotectors.org. I only got about 40 seconds left. The question I have is, where does a bully come from? I mean, what's in the psychic of a person that wants to do this?
It comes from his parents. Primarily, though not exclusively, one or both of his parents are coercive. They're arrogant, they're disdainful and contemptuous toward other people, and they pick that up. It's just an orientation toward other people that they have. Of course, the parents will never come out and say that's what they are, but that's what they are.
So, they're a product of the parent.
One or both.
Wow, what a statement. theprotectors.org. Check it out, Paul Coughlin. Thank you, my friend, and let's stay in touch and let us know how this is beginning to develop and if we can help you out.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, have a great day. We'll see you next time on Focus Today.